anything visual in your frame is going to send certain signals to the listener, to the viewer, about yourself. Just as you would if you were going into an in-person meeting, you'd think about things like your suit or your hair or how you're going to make a handshake when you walk in the office. You have the same opportunities as you're framing your Zoom meeting.
Hey guys, I have a special guest today, Jenni Steck. Jenni Steck is a Dallas-based voice and speech coach, and I've worked with her in the past, and she is going to tell us what makes a great setup for your video conferencing. I know a lot of people are using that, using Zoom, for instance, for their job, and also if you're networking for your next job. So Jenni, what is the most important thing that you've seen that people need to use in video conferencing?
Well, I think that the first thing people need to keep in mind is that for these networking opportunities or job interviews, that you're kind of making a first impression. So you just want to be mindful of the fact that anything visual in your frame is going to send certain signals to the listener, to the viewer, about yourself. So you want to be mindful of that and thoughtful about how you put that together. Just as you would if you were going into an in-person meeting, you'd think about things like your suit or your hair or how you're going to smile and make a handshake when you walk in the office. You have the same opportunities as you're framing your Zoom meeting. So the things that I would list as must-haves, must consider components. The first one would be lighting. There's a lot of information on Google about lighting. The main thing to keep in mind is that you want to have some kind of ambient light in the room, and then you want to have some directional light that's lighting your face. The other thing to think about is not having light behind you, because that will make you look really dark and hard to see. The other thing to think about is positioning. You can see a lot online where people talk about how to angle your camera, and we'll look at some pictures of that in just a second. You don't want it too low because then you're looking up your nose. You don't want it too high because then you look inferior. You look like you're kind of submissive. But one thing people don't talk a lot about is framing. And by that, I mean, you want the camera in tight enough so there's not a whole lot of space around you, but you don't want it so tight that you are cutting off your head. The other thing to think about is the background, being mindful of the things that you put in your background. You don't want it to be too bland, too boring, but at the same time, you don't want things in the background that are going to be distracting. They're going to draw attention from you. And those are things like bold colors, bright white things will sometimes pull the eye away. A good trick to figure out what's drawing attention in your background is to take a screenshot, close your eyes, and then open your eyes and see where your eye goes. And if your eye is going to your bright white shirt, or here even my little logo is a little bit bright, my eye might go there. So being mindful of that. And if you'll indulge me, I have a couple of pictures to share.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to say, Jenni, I think all the things you said, what not to do, is what exactly I was doing when I started. So when I started my coaching business 2 years ago, since then I've had 2,000 calls. So I think it was after call 500 or something like that, I realized I was doing all the mistakes. I was using a camera that saw my nose. I was having bad lighting. My background was the kitchen with the refrigerator and microwave. And I slowly started to change things. And I think your tips will help people make quick changes and really transform their networking or their video calls pretty dramatically. Yeah. I know you have some pictures. Do you want to share these?
Sure. Let me share these. Just to give you some visual demonstration of what we're talking about here. So lighting, right? On the one side, you have lighting that's back behind. You can see how dark it makes the face. And then the other side, there's too much light and not enough ambient light. So it looks like a floating head. So that you could fix by just turning on an overhead light to.
Jenni, this is the worst mistake, and I've seen this tons of times. People putting letting the window behind them because they're frankly, that's probably the way they're working, right?
That's
But
right.
for,
That's
but for a
right.
video
Exactly.
call, you really can't see them.
I
Hmm.
see it so many times, and especially for what I do, it's hard. I can't see facial expressions or what the mouth does, so I have to ask them to move so I can see them better. The next one is angle. Uh, one of these is the camera is too low. So if you are working off of a laptop, this is probably going to be a problem for you. You can fix it by doing something as simple as stacking it on top of some boxes to get it up closer to, so the camera is at your eye level. And then the other is if the camera's a little too high and you're looking up at it, you can look small. And if you're trying to project confidence and authority, you don't want to look small physically.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think what people can do is put some books and then raise their laptop if they don't have an external camera.
Another thing to consider is proximity to the camera and what you're doing with your body language. So the one on where I'm sitting back, leaning back, that sends two bad signals, right? First of all, there's too much space around me, so it's very distracting to look at. I'm interested in all the other things, but also that has your physical energy going away from the person you're talking to. And all that we know from research about projecting engagement and kind of a dynamic quality and that you're interested in connecting, if your physical energy is going back, you seem disengaged. So just be mindful of that. You want to make sure you have a chair that allows you to sit upright or even come in a little bit. And then, of course, the other one, you don't want to get too close. This is like what my parents do whenever we Zoom and they can't figure out, they get right up in there. So that's one to avoid as well. And then framing is what I was mentioning that a lot of people don't talk about, but can make a big difference in what you project. Headspace is the term for that space between the top of my head and the top of the frame. We don't want too much headspace. It makes it hard for the person you're talking to feel like they're making eye contact with you. And again, it's distracting. We want our eye to go towards your face and your eyes. And if there's all that headspace, it makes it hard for my eye to know where to go. And then the other one, it's cutting off half of my head. And so it just is, again, it doesn't look good. Thinking about the background, my lighting in these, I was just setting it up and the lighting is not great either. I look kind of orange, but just to demonstrate the background, the one on the left with the is way too busy. There are lots of things that are going to draw my eye away from the face. I'm looking at the pictures. If I did that squinting exercise and then open my eyes, I'd be drawn to the picture of that little girl on the dock. And then in the other one, you can see how boring the one on the other side is, right? We need a little bit of texture, a little bit of something that's not distracting. Your background is really good, I think, Tom, by the way. Kudos to you. So those are the visual demonstrations of the background. And now we see yours. You and I talked about, you had a pillow behind you that had very bright contrast. I don't know if you have, you have it still?
So I had my Texas flag and I had it here. And Jenny said, you know, close your eyes and then open it. And my eye went right to my pillow. So I've taken it out and I've just put the a box with an American flag up there. So is that better?
I love that because it's still, you have an image you're projecting, right? Veteran, patriotic. So we still have some of that imagery there without it drawing my eye and being distracting.
So I want to make a comment about your background. I really like it. You know, it's great to have like a simple picture there, an elegant bookcase that isn't dominating, and something on the bookcase. I think what we've discussed is a lot of world leaders and a lot of people have posted or done interviews with their bookcases,
Yes,
and in many cases it's so overwhelming, floor to ceiling bookcase, and it's so distracting, isn't it?
that's right. Because where do I look? If it's dominated by the books, I'm not really going to be focusing on the what I want you to focus on, which is my face. But you know, thinking about being thoughtful about what you put in the background in terms of the story it tells about you. You know, for me, I just keep it simple. I have a logo there. If someone's interested, you know, it can be a conversation starter. Like I think the sword that you have behind you is wonderful because it really is on brand for you. right?
Yeah.
And it's not so prominent that it draws my attention, but as we get to know each other, it makes me think, gosh, I really want to ask him about that. It's a great conversation starter.
Right, right. One last question I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
is,
Sure.
so we talked about proximity and framing, and
Mhm.
you showed a lot of bad examples. Right now, I think we're doing the right proximity frame, but can you specify exactly for people that are watching what that would mean for them?
Sure. So what I have to do is I have to pull my monitor, which has my camera on it, much closer to me than I would use it if I were just working on the computer. If I were typing, I would not have it this close. It's probably a foot from my face. Um, that helps you, if you don't have a webcam that you can manipulate the zoom part of it, zooming in or zooming out, then you're going to have to actually move the computer.
And I think right now what we're doing is there's a little space above our heads. We're taking about uh, half of the vertical space, right?
Right.
And
Or more. Yeah. You just want an inch or two above the head so that we see,
right.
um, we, consider that we also communicate so much through our body language. And if I have it so close that I'm only here, you're losing a lot of what I'm communicating through my torso. It's
Yeah.
just right here. You see a lot of that too. And if it's too far back, again, it starts to get distracting. I'll see too many things in my background.
And a couple things. I mean,
For these networking opportunities or job interviews, that you're kind of making a first impression. So you just want to be mindful of the fact that anything visual in your frame is going to send certain signals to the listener, to the viewer, about yourself. So you want to be mindful of that and thoughtful about how you put that together. Just as you would if you were going into an in-person meeting, you'd think about things like your suit or your hair or how you're going to smile and make a handshake when you walk in the office. Uh, you have the same opportunities as you're framing your Zoom meeting. I'm glad you brought that up because I think volume is a secret weapon. If you are pushing and talking too loud, volume signals your interest in connection. And if you are shouting, you don't sound interested in connecting. You sound like you're interested in dominating or talking past the other person. So finding just a conversational level and check in with the other person. How's my volume? If you have an external mic like I do, you can adjust the
can you
gain.
show us your mic? Can you show it
Yeah.
back a bit? Can you pull it back a bit? Yeah, I really like that mic. What is it again? So people can
It's a HyperX Quadcast.
HyperX Quadcast.
Yeah. And you can control your volume by how close you get to your mic, again, proximity, but you can also control your input volume there and in the Zoom controls under preferences. So
Yeah, I found that a lot of people who don't have external mics, based on the onboard mics on people's laptops, it's directional. And if they move, then I lose hearing for them.
or
So
if they're wearing the headset that has the mic, you have to be mindful of where you have the mic positioned. You want it just like right here below the lip. If it's here, you get a lot of that. You hear a lot of popping of consonants. So you want it out of the airflow stream. You put it here, but if it goes too low, then we can't hear you. Or well, you turn your head, suddenly you're really loud, and so you need to test that out.
yeah. Well, Jenni, I really appreciate today's tips for everybody. And if anybody wants to contact Jenni, if you're interested in voice or speech coaching, I'll put her information in the text below and link to her LinkedIn profile. Thanks, Jenni.
You're welcome. There are also these tips listed in a couple of blogs that I posted on LinkedIn that I could send you as well.
Yep, and I'll put these in the message as well. Thanks.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank
Jenni.
you.
Bye-bye.